Now, once a week, I'm going to want to give the glass a bit of a clean. Getting a flipper is unbelievable, like a magnet. Gets it done in 2 seconds. Then the water goes down through here. So there's a filter sock in here that you want to clean at least once a week. Then we want to clean the inside of the skimmer once or twice a week. Then we want to check there's RO water in the top up once or twice a week. And that's the most important things. We want to be checking the temperature at least once a week. And then basically, if our fish are swimming around and they look happy and they're doing what they need to do, then Bob's your uncle. If your fish are starting to look lethargic or not eat or do anything that you don't normally recognize them doing, then what we want you to do is make a good video of the aquarium running so we can see everything. And we want to see any little bits and pieces you might have for your fish tank. And then bring a sample of water down to see us at the shop and we can guide you on what to do. Because realistically, it really is quite simple, especially when you get in the habit. And keeping a logbook is one of the best things you can ever do for an aquarium. Because very regularly, you can think to yourself, oh, I did a water change last week, for example. But actually, it was like 4 weeks ago and you've absolutely lost track of time. So a logbook is something I highly recommend that everyone suggests for an aquarium. There's even some really cool logbook apps now. So now we're just waiting to connect this light to the app, and then eventually all these corals will start opening up, and then everyone will be happy. Now we are going to put some more clownfish in this aquarium, but in a perfect world, we'd wait 4 weeks before the new clownfish go in. Reason being is that when you add new fish, you can bring pathogens into the water. So if these fish have just been moved like this, then the fish are experiencing an amount of stress. So it's really good just to allow a bit of a quarantine period and allow these fish just to stabilize after the move before adding new fish. It'll decrease risk. Now, one thing that I highly recommend you do is grab a little sample of water and come down and see us at the aquarium shop. We can then test the water to make sure that everything is okay. Now with this aquarium, what's actually going to happen is that once we connect the light to the bloody Wi-Fi, then you're going to have a whole bunch of corals in there, and those corals are going to start taking minerals and so forth and elements out of the water. So if you want to have nice healthy corals, we need to make sure our calcium, KH, and magnesium level is nice and high. That allows the corals to grow. And we need to make sure the nitrate and phosphate is low. So if you find that this aquarium starts getting too much algae, then it'll either be nitrate or phosphate. So more regular water changes are going to help, and the addition of a product like this. What you do with this, if you find you have phosphate, you just get a little bit of this, put it in here, give it a bit of a wash, and throw this in the filter. Then that should help to drop your phosphate. Over time, this will then become exhausted, in which you can throw the phosphate remover out, chuck some more in, and cycle that through until you've used that up. The other good thing about this particular product is it won't let the phosphate level go to zero, because you never want to have phosphate or nitrate zero. You still want to have some nutrients. So basically at the end of the day, if phosphate and nitrate are high, you're going to have algae. If calcium, KH, and magnesium's high, then they're reef builders and you're in a good position for your corals. So in a perfect world, we want this one high and those ones low. If it's the other way around, then your algae will flourish instead of your corals flourishing. Now, as your corals flourish, they're also going to be using various nutrients, vitamins, and so forth from the water. So to get started, we're going to recommend 1 drop of each of these per week. And then probably every 3 to 6 months, I'd recommend getting a ICP test. And then that will tell you if any of these levels are out of whack. And once again, these are only trace issues. So they're only very, very, very small problems. But in the perfect world, as this tank starts to absolutely flourish, then getting the fine detail right is really the difference between it being a good aquarium and an amazing aquarium. Now, the other thing is the fish are going to need nutrients. So Spectrum Probiotics is about the best quality food you can buy. It has a huge list of very high quality ingredients. And the other good thing about this particular food is that it is a cold extruded food. It is not a pressure cooked food. It's not heavily processed, and it contains a probiotic bacteria. The probiotic bacteria means when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo eats the poo. So it's a really wonderful way of keeping your tank nice and clean. Now we want to have our light on for, say, around 8 to 10 hours a day. If we're noticing too much algae, then we might want to reduce the light periods. And if the corals aren't doing as well, we may even increase it. Now this is also just a little feeding ring that we can put into the mesh top, which is coming. And we want to be doing water changes in this tank, probably just a little bit of a water change every 2 weeks. And it's really best if we use a gravel cleaner, because a gravel cleaner allows us to actually clean the sand while we're removing the water. But once again, if you bring us a water sample to Majestic Aquariums and a little video of the tank running, we can just guide you to make sure that your fish and your corals are getting what they need. But at the end of the day, I want the fish fed about 5 times a week, so that's not quite every day. Whenever you do anything big with the tank, or if you move the tank or whatever like this, I would recommend not feeding for 2 days. And then when you do feed, I want to put a little bit of food in. I want all the food gone in 30 seconds. And then over time, I want to be watching the belly of the fish. And if the belly of the fish gets skinny, I want you feeding more. If it's fat, I want you feeding less. And the light seems to have decided to come on, which is a wonderful thing. I used to love the old days when you used to plug things on and turn them on. You don't have to work out a bloody app for everything. But so these zoanthus will all start opening up, and the fish will all settle in. As I said, I'd rather, if possible, wait a month before the clownfish go in, if possible. There's kids here, so maybe that's not going to happen. We've got some strom snails. We've got various trochus, and they're all wonderful scavengers. Fish all look happy. Now, one thing that I'm a big believer is that change is king. I don't care how good your tank is. It is my belief that you'll get it looking really, really nice, and you'll master it. And for 1 year, you'll love it. 1 year, you'll like it, and then you've seen it. So what I'd recommend doing is, if you can walk past this aquarium without having to look at it, then every now and then, I think it's really worth just doing a rearrange. Changing some coral, changing some fish, changing the shape of the decoration, and that maintains your interest again. So obviously this isn't applicable to everyone. Some people set their tanks up and love them forever, but I'm also a big fan of the spring clean. So I probably once a year, or once every 2 years, or when you think, hey, I've seen this reef, I wouldn't mind some new corals, I wouldn't mind a new challenge, I wouldn't mind changing some fish, then I'd even consider the idea of like pulling it all out, giving it a good clean, and doing it again completely differently. Because you're much better off being aware of your own attention span. And if you're someone with a 1 or 2 year attention span, then you're better off maintaining an interest in the aquarium, as opposed to having a beautiful aquarium and then after a while you've seen it. And that applies to basically everything. I've got customers with $10 million water views that never look at it. And I've got customers with $20 million wives that they don't look at. So change is king.